Boo-doo-doo-doo. Yeah, yeah, it is Friday, Friday. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. We are here. This is, well, just me. Oh, and another guy. You can't see him right now, so I'm just going to show him. Metal Minister. He's silent because Mike's not working. But it is Ask Christian Anarchist number 8. And probably might be a little slow at responses today because I'm still kind of recovering from seasonal allergies. It sucks, and I've been coughing a bit lately. It's slowly starting to mild down, but it still is a pain trying to talk when you got something you need to get out, and sometimes a little stuffiness in the nasal passages. So forgive me if I'm responding to questions that I might take time in doing so, because I still have to deal with the weather, apparently. But Lord willing, I still managed to come and do this, and hopefully we'll see who we can get. But, hold on a second. Yeah, I'm just going to mute myself every time I cough. That's how you'll be able to know. Yes, so before we begin the show, I do want to comment on a story that's been going on in the Christian circles concerning a certain person named Jory Mika or something like that. If you're a fan of James White and you're familiar with the dividing line, there was a mentioning of her on this or something like that. And I think the whole thing was about women pastors or something, if I'm correct. And basically what was said, as far as I could, I haven't looked too much into the story. All I know is I keep seeing it. But based on what one person has sent me concerning it, there's a post that was made saying, quote, "I'm not going," this is from Jory herself, "I'm not going to lie, friends. I am really angry and sad about the invasion over the last couple of days. I am sorry for all of the negativity that came into our safe space. Please tag me wherever you see trollish behavior so I can block ASAP. I'm overwhelmed with trying to monitor it all myself. I lost my cool with Summer White and her followers. I let them bring me down to their level, so I am sorry for that too. Simply break my heart that Summer is growing a following, bearing Christian is growing a following by tearing Christian women down. Me, Lisa Bever, Rachel Held Evans, and others. She is tearing down conservative and progressive Christian women. I am beyond disturbed, and many men are over there cheering her on as she devours women in the church. Time for us all to breathe in and breathe out, starting with me." So I'm not sure who Summer White is. If I had to take a guess, I would probably assume because I remember hearing at one point there was like there was a daughter mentioned. Oh, okay, so someone just mentioned to me in a private chat that that's James White's daughter. So she's accused. James White's daughter, Summer White, and James White himself have been accused of being a cult leader. And I believe also that at one point on Twitter, she said that she feared for her life because the followers of James White's cult had started to send her death threats. Of course, she does this when she tweets the post and has her own location tagged in the post. So if you're worried about death threats, then try not to reveal where you're at, first of all. And second of all, the whole thing of a cult aspect or a trollish or any of that, where is this? I mean, if you're offended of what someone's view is concerning, because from what I look, this is a person who is not exactly a complementarian or a traditionalist, but an egalitarian, and she's very, very liberal. And as someone who is a conservative, and affirms what the church has believed in the conservative view, that's where I'm going to stand. So if she has a problem with that, she needs to get off the internet, because people are going to have a view. Views clash. If you can't take the heat, well, get out of the Southern Fried Kitchen. But enough of that. We're going to go ahead and just go to callers and to answering anything in the live chat. So go ahead. We're going to go ahead, and first off, also, if Quam is still watching, what's up, Quam? I appreciate you finding this cool. Also, hello, Dash.
Hey.
You okay, man?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so how you doing? You there?
Yeah. I'm fine, I guess.
So do you have a question? Welcome to Ask Christian Anarchist, by the way.
Yeah, actually, I started to read what you wrote about Calvinism, I guess.
Yeah.
I have a question on certain citation you give from on original sin of one sec. Let me use your phrasing.
Specifically, what's the citation that you're
The first on the first category in
on depravity?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least in the psalm, it didn't strike me as it's referring to that people always like that. For example, that people always are in sinful mode,
Okay.
but describe what is the sinful mode. And Jeremiah, I think 13:23. It's also it seems to me a bit. It didn't strike me as well on the same count. It's on specific state that exists now, but not that human in general are impossible, are deprived or fallen in that regard. Correct me, or where do you see that it always says that?
What's the question?
I didn't see it. It was there. Yeah, that it's being in these passages what you call total depravity. It seems to me not. It didn't seem to me like that. Can you explain where do you see it there?
So what? So where in Psalms 51 does it talk?
58:3 and Jeremiah 13:23 specifically. Yeah, you give.
Okay, so concerning the passages, let's take a look at those real quick. So first off, we're going to Psalms 51, verse 5, right?
51? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So concerning what Psalms 51 says, at least, and I'm using the King James Version in this one.
Sure.
It states, "Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me." When we're seeing the concept of shapen in iniquity, how is David, who is the author here, how is he being shapen exactly?
In which verse are you specifically?
Psalms 51, verse 5, where it says, "Behold, I was shapen in iniquity."
Okay, I get you. And I will sin against myself always. Okay. Okay, I accept that.
Right. So it says shapen in iniquity. How is he shapen in iniquity?
You use the King James. What's that guy? I use the 5. And behold, I shapen. It's specifically saying that he knew that he did he didn't abide the law. He was he had some criminal.
Okay, so
Today,
this shaping
yeah,
is going before or after he's born.
after he was born.
So where in the context would it indicate that that's definitely what we're seeing here?
You quote 3 from what I recall. I didn't talk about that.
It's about what?
You quoted from 58.
I quoted from
3.
I quoted from 58.
Yeah.
I quoted from Psalms 51.
Okay. So that
Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother
is that what?
conceive me.
Okay, I see it 58, but is that what you meant? Then yes, okay. I understand where you see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm asking, when it says, "Behold, I David was shapen in iniquity," where is there the context of he's already born that he's doing this? That this shaping is going on after he's born.
That I granted you. I don't. I think. I think. So I think that taking this implication would lead to further problem. But yeah, I with this understanding, I can understand you.
Right. So my whole thing is just that it's talking about while he's in the womb, he's being shapen by God. He's being shapen by his nature. And in sin did my mother conceive me. That's the key context where we tell that this is referring to him in the womb, because conceiving, he's being shapen, and he was being shapen in while he had in the sinful nature, because that is what humans have, and that's exactly what the iniquity part is. But trying to go back to your question, you said citation. There was a citation you had a problem with, which is what I'm trying to. I don't think I gave a citation on Psalms 51 verse 5.
You didn't get from what I have. You didn't give. I can check in the site again.
Right.
One sec. I can see it. In terms of the verse, how does that? The wicked, the wicked are strange. One sec. The wicked are strange from the womb. They go astray soon as we born. I wouldn't necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily use it like that. It says that those who are wicked are like that from the womb. I don't think in that specific verse. Let's say it myself. And because of that, it's those who are. I wouldn't. The wicked are strange. I would understand it as those who are wicked, not everyone. But the 51 I concede to you.
Okay, so all right.
People are always wicked, and that's because in general, I mean, wicked is in certain action seems to be attributed not to the person itself.
Okay.
You can understand it on the person, but it's mainly by actions.
All right. I guess. Well, there you go. Like, I mean, I'm still having a hard time understanding what the question is. 'Cause I remember earlier you said.
With 51, I agree with you. Okay, if that's what you see in it, you can see it in that. With 58, I less see it because it's. I don't understand it as the wicked, but those who are wicked. Yeah, that I think that where I'm not really good. That's why I'm not seeing it myself.
All right. Well, we'll probably touch on that as soon as we can. We got some other people before we get to the others. We have Floyd also in here, by the way, a atheist that's been in the community and person I actually respect well enough to be someone worthy of a formal debate. So hopefully one day we can get something arranged because I hear he's a very well respected individual and much more different than the anti-theists than I have to normally deal with that would just normally call me a retard and don't want to debate me because of that. So welcome, Floyd.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll have to think of a good topic. What's your view on Noah's flood? Was it worldwide or local?
Well, and I think good thing you asked that. You can check my channel we have and on the debate list that we actually went over that, and I hold to the local flood position, and I debated for the local position on my channel.
Ooh, well, okay, there you go. There's a topic we can do.
Oh, hey, all right. So wait, you want to argue for if the flood was global or local?
Yeah, I would take the worldwide position.
Do you believe that the world was flooded by God?
Oh, well, no.
I'm just asking because I mean, like, it's interesting to hear that debate being proposed.
No, I don't believe the flood story happened at all. The topic would be, what does the Bible teach about it?
Oh, okay. Right. All right. Yeah. Sure thing. And then Shady's Abyss. I'm assuming that's what this person's trying to go with the name. But
it's Shades Abyss.
Yeah, there you go. But I know who this person is, and I don't know wants me to say. Yes. Chris. Okay, so you are comfortable with that. Chris. All right. So before we go to people in here, hopefully we can see if we can build up a little more in the live chat. Please come on in if you want to check it out or ask me for the link. I'll be sure to give it to you. You know what? Because I got the moderator control things on here, I might as well, put the link out in the public thing. At least we haven't got 5-6-year-old kids coming on with weird racist comments anymore. So from Quam, we have the question, what are your thoughts on liberation theology? Well, concerning liberation theology, I haven't really looked too much into the specific theology because this is actually the first time I've heard the name in a full thing. Like, I haven't actually studied too much into a liberation theology. Floyd, are you familiar with this? I know you do a lot of good studies on the different theological aspects in regards to debating theists. So do you know anything about that?
Well, yeah, it's just, it's more like a political movement just to eliminate oppression while people are on Earth.
So what, like a Christian anarchism in a sense?
I don't know about anarchism. I think any method or movement that would eliminate oppression.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to get rid of economic, political, social, and so forth. But there's a lot of gray area in that. Say, okay, are you going to eliminate the oppression of homosexuals, for example?
Mm.
Where do you take it? Is that ultimately going to lead to a very liberal viewpoint in your theology? I think there's a lot of
that would be my concern there, is because in a sense, I think all Christian theological positions concerning, say, the social thing is in a sense a liberation theology, but I think it's the aspect of what kind it takes to. So I think my thoughts on liberation theology in general is that, we all hold to the liberation theology if we're Christians in a sense. But if you're going to be taking an extreme on the position like I used to, and say that all government is evil, or that, fight Wall Street and all this type of stuff, normally some of the people I see that go towards doing all this, they only seem to be focused on that aspect, and it's less about preaching the gospel. The trend I see this is like what I call the conspiracy theist movement, which is the Christians that focus on nothing but conspiracy theories and flat earth and stuff like that, is that most of the time, instead of talking and preaching about Jesus, they talk about some kind of new sense of awakening oneself to reality, or causing oneself to, be aware of certain things, and that they have to fight and be against these types of things. So it's mainly about more of the physical that they're focusing on compared to the spiritual aspect as well. I mean, I have yet to see a conspiracy theist go out and preaching the gospel to people. I mean, all they're focusing on is either A, going into places where they're talking about conspiracies with their friends, or they are talking, or they're going around and they're trashing people that don't agree with their view. And that's all it is, it seems. So my idea of liberation theology is simple. We all, as Christians, hold to one, but the main point is that one is, how is this theology going to shape you? That's ultimately what it boils down to. Are you going to let Christ be the main influence in your life, or are you going to let social issues become the main part of your life? I think that's the thing where we draw the line. Next question we have from Unspeakable is la la lu la lo. I love that word because of Metal Gear Solid. Thank you very much. So, Lolly Lulelo asks, CA, how are you handling the folks calling you and others, calling your and others, yours, I think she said yours and others' faith into question lately? I know where this is going. Are you going to confront this trend? Seems pretty self-defeating to display such extreme tribalism that one chops one's own team like that. Plus, being a very bad move in general. Well, here's the thing. I've dealt with criticism before. I mean, here's the story of what happened. Earlier in a conversation, I was with someone by the name of Arcane Logos and Rand Campbell. And what happened was I was accused by Arcane Logos, first off, of being a cross-dresser, which I'd like to see the proof of that. When was the last time I did any cross-dressing? Because I must have been very drunk when that happened. I mean, it's just, and then I'm a Antichrist type of heretic because I hold an evolutionary creationist view, and that I don't take the same exact creation position on him, even though this is a non-salvific issue. And then next thing you know, Rand Campbell comes in and starts saying, I believe in a false Jesus. I ask, what Jesus do I believe in? He says, I believe in the Jesus that says that I could sin, that I could do whatever I want. I believe in a Jesus that says, don't obey me, obey yourself, do what you will. I'm like, obviously, Mr. Campbell, you are unaware of my lordship salvation position. So please explain to me this. So honestly, I will just say this, though this may be cheesy. Haters are gonna hate. I mean, I don't know why I have Christians like this that are against me, but honestly, I think if they're willing to make statements like this, they should A, get to know more about me, B, they should actually do the research before stating certain things, because honestly, if Arcane is going to just say, insult me with, are you, and call me a cross-dresser, well, he is really running low on insults besides
Wait, why did he call you a cross-dresser?
I have no idea. That's what I asked him. His first thing was, look at my avatar. I look like a queer. I'm like, bro, you don't even know what the format of the art of anime is, apparently. And I've had this for a while now. Why are you just now accusing me of this? So the point is this. If you're going to have any refuting of me, let's engage in an argument where it refers to us going to the scriptures, if that's the problem, if I'm not being a Christian, instead of just shouting F-bombs at me, calling me a queer, and accusing me of being a crossdresser when you have no evidence. Because otherwise, you do not look good when you're trying to make claims which you have no absolute basis for, to which I will start reading some scripture concerning how Arcane should be ahead of himself if he wants to, profess that he's a Christian. It's one thing to profess, but it's a different thing altogether for how you behave, which is the fruits of the Spirit, which Galatians 5:22-23 says are this. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, which that's a King James phrasing for patience, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. So if you're going to be a Christian, you don't just say you're a Christian. You have to show that you are going to produce the fruits of it. Remember, Jesus said that a good tree doesn't produce bad fruit. Bad trees don't produce good fruit. So actually try to be making sure you're bearing good fruit. Not saying I'm fruit inspecting here, but I'm just saying Bible says what it says. It also says faith without works is dead. So you can say you have faith, but unless you show and prove your faith to people, then I'm sorry, but it's a dead faith that you're preaching. So there you go. So we're going to go to the live chat questions later, but going ahead to Mr. Floyd. Floyd, how you doing?
Doing good. Doing good.
You got a question? By the way, welcome to Ask Christian Anarchist number 8.
You are a Calvinist, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you a 5-point Calvinist?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I don't feel like doing Arminianism versus Calvinism tonight. What's your stance on predestination?
The stance on predestination is basically that I think that God has ordained things, not just in the general sense of salvation, but even in the general sense of foreordination in general. That's what I usually hold to. It's I would call it a theistic compatibilist view, in the sense that I view that while we are able to still make choices, at least that's what we are defining as choices, we're able to have the free will to make decisions. I'm still able to lift this pen up like I am now. I still think there's an eventual outcome that has been ordained based upon certain things, such as human nature, and also ordains the means to the end, such as the pen I'm holding is going to be placed on the desk. How is it going to do that? Because I end up putting it there, and I believe that God had preordained for even the moment of that to happen. So it all kind of plays out like a nice domino effect that's arranged beautifully and orchestrated perfectly. So that's the one thing I would say. So but that's of the general sense. For salvation, my view is somewhat I would call double predestination, but like I mentioned in my expository that's on my website, that doesn't mean that God has chosen people to go to hell. He chooses the people for heaven, but concerning those for hell, he doesn't even have to do anything, because the natural state of man is that they're sinning, they're full of wickedness, and that they're going to choose sin. And that's, of course, why they would need a savior, because we're sinners. So, but if someone is going to hell, it's not because God didn't choose them. They go to hell because of their sin, and that they're just left there. They're left in that natural state to perish. And so God doesn't have to choose them to go to hell. It's just that they are left to their demise. Did that answer the question, or?
Yeah.
Uh, anything you want to comment on, or?
Yeah, I guess my biggest issue with Calvinism, as well as, well, one of the issues with Christianity in general, is your God created our nature. So to say, we lean towards sinning, we enjoy sinning, we have a propensity to sin, so forth. We didn't create our nature. Your God
Right.
created our nature.
Right.
So it seems like, your God, as Romans 9 says, created some for his grace and others for his wrath. And who are we to question the molder if we're just a clay? Which almost makes the salvation of Christ arbitrary. If he's going to predestine some to election and others to reprobation, what's even the point of the sacrifice on the cross?
Right, and that's once again why I was referring to the means and the ends aspect concerning just the general destination. So if something in this compatibilist sense works with me and the pen, if my arm is the means to the end of the nail reaching to its destination, then for the elect, Jesus is the means of the elect to their destination of salvation. That's basically it.
So, I mean, think of a car. You're at point A, you want to get to point B. And the point B is, many miles away, and the best way to get to point B is take a car. So, in this analogy, would Jesus be the car, but God is laying down the road, so to speak, providing the car, giving us the desire to want to go into the car?
Giving us the desire to go into the car if there's a point where, something is arranged that makes us want to get in the car, yes.
Yeah, I mean, again, the means seems, it could be a car, it could be a bicycle, it could be public transportation. He chose to do it that way. He chose the car, so to speak, rather than the train. But regardless, it seems like him changing our nature is what is going to get us into that car, into that train, or whatever means it is going to be used to get to point B. So again, it just really comes down to this God just arbitrarily picking who is the elect and who is the reprobate, and there seems to be no standard outside of himself, outside of him just choosing, because there's no criteria. We're all sinners. We all deserve hell, right? So
Absolutely.
So no one warrants being elected.
Right, which is why election is unconditional.
Right, and as is reprobation, right? Reprobation would be unconditional as well.
Concerning the reprobate, they would be in their state of sin if they're,
right. So sin is the instrumental cause for reprobation, but God would still be the final and ultimate cause of it, as an election. But sin is not the direct cause, because if it was, we'd all be in hell because we're all sinners. It's merely an instrumental cause for us, for the reprobate to be damned.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, Calvinism seems very arbitrary, and not humanistic, but that's this appeal to, I guess, emotion there. But
Right.
The Calvinistic God is not a humanist, I would say. He's
Oh,
more
I would
concerned,
agree.
he's more concerned about his own glory than the welfare and of humanity.
Right. Well, of course, I would disagree on to a certain aspect. I think there's, of course, some people that God, does hate, like in Psalms 5:5. He hates those who work iniquity. But I can understand where you're coming from on the subject. It's just that for me, when I'm looking at it, I see the aspect that God is, He is protecting and is caring for people. But in the Old Testament, we see it's definitely and mainly towards the Israelites, His people. That's where we get the main focus on, because they were the chosen people at the time. And then we don't see anything until New Testament comes in, where then all of a sudden Gentiles, non-Jews, are being grafted into, say, the plan of salvation, for instance. So anything else you want to further comment on, or do you want to just end there?
Yeah, I'll end it there.
If you got another question, just bring it up. If we come back to circles, well, hopefully we'll see if any more people show up.
Yeah.
So going to the live chat to ask the question or answer a question. Apparently, someone asked 2 questions. We're only gonna do one at a time. Don't be that crazy.
I guess just to say, I wouldn't mind having that debate with you sometime. Not anytime real soon, but I don't know, maybe down the weeks on the Noah flood story.
Yeah, I think that'd be an interesting one. So here we go. Ryan Taylor. First question. Actually, you know what? We're going to answer all 3 of these, because the first 2 I can just easily answer with just a simple, short sentence. First question. Your opinion on the Black Hebrew Israelites? They're crazy. Question number 2. What is your opinion on the HCSB translation? It's a pretty decent translation. I don't have it yet, but maybe one day I will, so I can actually examine it more properly than based on what I've seen. Pretty decent. Number 3. What is Lordship salvation? Well, Lordship salvation is simply this: that I affirm that Jesus is Lord, that not only is He Lord, but also that whenever Jesus has commanded things to obey, that's our way of showing love, is that we obey or follow His commands, which, He said, if you love me, keep my commandments, the things He's ordered and asked of you. So what about that? So Lordship salvation is basically recognizing that Jesus is Lord, and that there's fruits one must have, and you have to have this. Basically, you could say you believe in Jesus, but unless you show the evidence of your faith, like what we mentioned in Galatians 5:22-23, then that's not going to be enough. If your faith is going to be true, it has to show natural results. If I just pour some water in the soil of where a seed's at for fruit, and this thing just grows and there's nothing there, then really is not really that much of a what the seed was trying to be. Maybe it wanted to be in some tomatoes and it didn't produce any. Well, it doesn't really get to have that much of a name or live up to its reputation if it doesn't produce any of that. So in other words, it's this: there's Lordship salvation and easy believism, where easy believism thinks that you could still cherish and pick things from a empty tree of a tomato tree. But if you have but if you're in the Lordship salvation position, you can logically only pick the tree that has actual tomatoes on it, because then that's considered the tomato tree at that point. So that's essentially what it is, basically. So next question we have is from Ultra Magnus. How do you view Jesus mythers? I honestly have not too much. Depends on the Jesus myther, actually, I would assume. Because I've heard some people that, you know, they'll say, well, Jesus probably existed, but it's not the Jesus as portrayed in the Bible. I have no problem with that part of it. But if you have someone, in my opinion, saying that Jesus didn't exist at all at that time, I mean, then I would kind of have a problem based upon what I had read, that we do have the historical evidence to support it. In fact, one thing we were supposed to get, and I'm probably going to need to pressure her on this, Jade said she did a thing a while back, a lot of documented research on the topic about this particular issue, and she goes into the historical evidence, and she finds that if we were to make the same thing about anyone today and then go later on, some of the claims that are made by the skeptics on this Jesus mythicist thing are from an old, I forgot what his name was, but he wasn't even a historian, and his claims were laughed at whenever he had made them at some point. But some people, when he wrote the book, people were liking the ideas and thought they were interesting and reasonable, and it started to carry on, like the list of people that lived during the time of Jesus but didn't write about him. One of the problems with the list is that while some did talk about him, some aren't to be held to that accountability, because you have some people who were, focused on a different profession and genre, so they weren't. So it would not make any sense for them to write about that. It would be saying that if our only reliable source is of a well-known baker during the time of 9/11 to prove that 9/11 happened, and she's the only written source out there that we have of that time period after thousands of years later, and she says nothing about it, makes no mention of it, then 9/11 didn't happen. Unfortunately, what we have here is that she's a baker. Why is she going to write about 9/11 when she's got more time focused on her career of writing cookbooks, for example? So that's the one analogy kind of thing that I've heard Jade use. And you have J.P. Holdings Debunking the Christ Myth book. It's an ebook you can get online. I think it's at a very decent price, and I think you can even get it in a paperback too. So there's that, and it's based on what I've done. I don't take too much of what the Jesus mythicist arguments seriously, but that's another thing I'll be willing to discuss one day in the future about, because I know that it also eventually led me to looking into the Moses and the Exodus thing, because while even secular scholars agree that Jesus existed, there's definitely not too much scholarly support in the field of archaeology, for example, for the Exodus or Moses ever having to have it, which I did look into thanks to Floyd being in here. He was the one that kind of brought up my curiosity and my skepticism towards the topic to look into it. So thank you, Floyd, for that.
You're welcome. I actually lean towards Christ mysticism. And if people are interested in the topic, there's going to be a very good debate coming up this month.
Yes,
Bart Ehrman versus Robert Price. So
and they're both atheists, right?
Yeah, I definitely recommend everyone watch that one. I'm really eager for that one.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that. I mean, there's some things I disagree with Ehrman on concerning like the New Testament stuff, like on the Gospels of Thomas and such like that, the Gnostic Gospels, and his idea like the Common Johannium, like his conclusion on stuff like that. But concerning this issue, I kind of appreciate where he's coming from on it, and I haven't got a chance to read the book, and I've heard he's gotten into some with Robert Price a little heated over like blogs and writing posts. Back and forth.
Well, he got heated with Richard Carrier.
Oh, it was Carrier. Okay.
Yeah. We're to the point where Ehrman wants nothing to do with Carrier, but he gets along with Robert Price. Robert, Carrier can be a little, snotty.
I've heard some stories about Carrier from a friend of mine who actually went to one of his lectures, and he kind of wasn't too professional per se when the lecture was over.
But Robert Price, he's a real nice guy. He's easygoing, very friendly, very very likable guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure Ehrman and Price will get along fine.
Yeah, I mean that's, to me, I am going to be, of course, weird thing for me as a Christian to be saying for an atheist. I'm rooting for my man Ehrman because Jesus exists. Go Jesus, basically. At this point.
I'm going to be rooting for Price. So.
Well, there we go. This will make an interesting conversation for later after that debate. But before we go back to the live chat questions, if any more show up, Chris, how the heck you doing?
I'm doing well. Just have a bit of a cold right now. Stuffy nose. Fucking sucks.
I understand where you're coming from. I'm trying to recover from some allergies myself.
Yeah.
So this will be the last question before I take a little quick break before I have to take my pills. Got to take the epilepsy medication. So, Chris, what's your question for the anarchist?
The anarchist, can you be a Calvinist and be practicing homosexual?
Can you be a Calvinist and a practicing homosexual?
Yeah.
I've seen people try to claim the idea before, which that's one of the rarities that you'll see these days. So one can say they can be a Calvinist and a homosexual. I mean, that there's the claim part of that, but the other aspect also. Honestly, this is one of those questions that I get uncomfortable answering. But one thing I will say on it is that I remember hearing what one person named Johnny KZJ say, that if Calvinism is true, then homosexuals are right, that they were born this way. And of course, this is a guy who thinks that, Calvinism's theology is basically a mirrored Islam theology. So try to picture that. But I mean, I have my views on concerning the issue, but as far to me, just the claim that one can claim to be a Calvinist, a Christian, and a homosexual, I mean, there's many that one can claim to be, I guess.
Like for me, for someone to be a Calvinist and homosexual or gay, they need to go about some sort of reformed sort of theology as far as Calvinism is concerned.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if anything, if you join any theology, you should just simply, consider that if you're going to be in a theological stance, whether it be Calvinism or anything else, you have to consider their points. So, I mean, one of the best examples, if you're a Calvinist, you hold to the best thing you'd hold to is a confession of faith that is in that tradition. So, like the Westminster Confession, if you're a Presbyterian, or the Westminster and the London Baptist Confession of Faith, if you're a Baptist at least. So those are Reformed Calvinist confessions, and they have their stances on what they hold to. So, that's all I'm going to say on that particular subject matter.
All right, man.
All right. Thank you for asking a question, though.
No problem.
So, next question in the live chat we have from That's a cool name. That's pretty cool. Sister Hipster, I've seen this person subscribed, has a picture of Edward Elric with hipster shades on. That's it's hilarious right there. And every time I see the like a video, because I'm subscribed to her as well. Every time I see a video or something, all of a sudden, you know that song "Sister Christian." All of a sudden, I just start hearing in my head out of nowhere, "Sister Hipster, you're the only one." Bad karaoke night, by the way. So, sing it, Floyd.
What's your price for flight?
There we go.
For finding Mr. Right.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe one day we'll decide to get some deals to get some music together, and we'll make a dedication or whatever for Sister Hipster, and just do a little parody of Sister Christian, just because we can. Let's see here. What are your thoughts concerning baptism in Jesus' name only according to Pentecostal theology, heavily emphasizing on Acts 2:38 for the plan of salvation instead of baptizing in the Trinity? Okay, so my thoughts on this. Let's take a look real quick on Acts 2:38. So let's see here. Oh, by the way, she just someone was saying Sister Hipster is the remake of Sister Christian. And Sister Hipster just stated that she didn't know that she exists. So, let's see here. Acts 2:38. Then Peter said unto them, Repent and be baptized every one of you in the name of Jesus Christ for the remission of sins, and you shall receive the gift of the Holy Ghost. Okay, so if they're going to say that that's their proof text, first of all, it says, and receive the gift of the Holy Ghost. So technically, they've also just included the third member of the Trinity there. And they've been talking about God, the Father, as well, within the rest of this context here as well. So it's not just ending there. I mean, this is part of a long sermon that Peter is giving out here. I mean, you start at verse 14 of Acts chapter 2, and you start to see more of the Pentecostal sermon. But my refutation to these people that say, only preach in the name of Jesus and not the Trinity, which I'm assuming she's talking about oneness Pentecostals, because there is a difference between a regular Pentecostal and a oneness Pentecostal. So I would point them to the Great Commission in Matthew 28, verses 18 through 20, which is, and Jesus came and spake unto them. This is from Jesus, a command to the disciples, his followers, basically. And he's saying this to them. All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Goes on to say, Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost. I can't be any more clear about what it's saying right there. Teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. That's
I looked into that verse, whether or not it's an interpolation. It screams interpolation to me, because it sounds much too formulaic. But I couldn't find anything really concise or anything solid of whether it is. Eusebius didn't make any mention of it. Before the Nicene Council.
Hey, Floyd. While you mention this, I'm just going to say I'm going to be right back real quick. So, because I got to take my medicine right now. But
Okay.
if you want, just hopefully you can talk about this as much while I'm AFK for the moment, so people don't get too bored.
Yeah, I mean the whole it's called the Great Commission at the end of the Matthew Gospel. Mentions what seems to be the Trinity. Baptize them in the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. Seems very formulaic, which leads many critical scholars to believe it was interpolation. I believe it's interpolation as well, but you just can't go on that. You try to want to find some other evidence. Eusebius doesn't quote that until after in the Nicene Creed. after the Nicene Creed, he's all in, and that's when the Trinity was established, during the Nicene, after the Nicene Council. But other church fathers before the Nicene Council do quote it. So it seemed to be, that those verses seem to be floating around before the Council of Nicaea. So so the verdict is still out, and the jury is still out on that. I lean that it is interpolation, because simply it seems to be very formulaic, and it's not something that I can really imagine being present in the early first century. I think the concept of the Trinity developed later in Christian theology. But again, there's no smoking gun on the issue. I wish there was, but just like that with many of the issues of the Bible, it's rarely very simple, or there seems to be a lot of missing pieces. So because of that, there's a lot of conjecture, there's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of educated guesses among scholars. There's whole dissertations written by PhDs that's simply based on speculation. They say, well, if this is this and this is the case, then it would lead you to that, and it creates a very interesting concept and idea. But those beginning premises aren't you can't really fully support through history. But it is a very interesting topic.
Rather in history, you have such full.
I'm back, by the way.
Full basis. I mean, I'm more in medieval time, but or early modern. But in medieval time, for example, what was the first translations, or for example, what was the text that spread around? What was the form of them? For example, if Plato Laws was a 9 book or 12 book, or things like that. So, I mean, early in history, you have a clear-cut case. You try the best you can to stick with what you have. I don't think it's just speculation in the air as well because of that. You try to understand human in the end.
Well, I'm back. Hopefully nothing went too chaotic while I was away. So hold on a second. Had to cough again. As I mentioned, still trying to come over with the allergies. Also, welcome General Han Solo, and why did I let this person in here? The perverted demon.
Because you love me, don't lie.
I don't love you.
Yes, you do.
I got water in my hand, and I'm going to make sure that it's holy and that I douse you with it, my friend.
Look, the more wet your hand is, the more lube I've got, so it's
okay,
fine.
now we're definitely just getting into some strange demons. All right, then. Let's just get this over with. Your question will go first. What's your question for the Christian Anarchist, you fiend?
Person likes me. I don't. Well, there's more a brief question for chat, but I mean, it's not even about Christianity. To be fair, it's more about fucking anarchism.
It's more like what?
It's more about anarchism.
Well, I'm not an anarchist. If you're gonna ask me something about my political views,
my name is the Christian Anarchist.
I have my name. I'm named that because I basically go into hangouts, and sometimes a whole social anarchy thing goes out. This was proven today when I went into a hangout, and all of a sudden I get Arcane Logos and Rand Campbell acting all crazy, saying random nonsense that doesn't even make sense, and Arcane just shouting profanity at me like a machine gun.
Oh,
Is this also the hangout where he called you a cross-dresser or accused you?
Yes, yep, like he also called me a cross-dresser. Which I remember was a question that Perverted Demon asked me when I said that I told him I'm single and that I am not looking for anybody. Sorry, Demon.
nah, you'll come around to me. I know you will.
Sure. So
I know I'll get you in my bed eventually.
No, you won't. This is just
Yes,
turning into one heck of an awkward conversation. So, and also comment from the Vincent the Fake Greg Bonson. Country music is amazing. So there you go. So, what do you want to ask me about anarchism?
Well, nothing now because I fucking learned that you're apparently not one.
Apparently, I'm not. There you go.
Well, I thought I could have some of my questions answered, but apparently not.
So, well, don't worry. We'll come back to you if you have another question. You know, we can easily just come back to you.
Better fucking come back to me.
Yeah, we'll come back to you. By the way, to the 3 people that are managing to still watch this, y'all must not have any lives if y'all still deciding to watch us go like crazy nonsense. In fact, here's a way we'll try to get some more people. I will play the harmonica for you like I'm your puppet.
Hey, if you're my
It worked. We got another viewer. Ta-da!
Hey, if you're my puppet, can I shove my hand up your ass?
No! I had to cover that before you even said anything. This is why I've also stated that these conversations are usually not for children. So,
well, they're only not for children when I'm here. You got like PG it when I'm here.
all right. So, going ahead to Mr. Han Solo. How the heck are you doing, buddy?
That mouthpiece just cracked me up. I applaud you for that. That was just so the perfect combination of. Did you even set that up? Like you had the drum kit ready, you had the mouthpiece ready, you had the perfect timing of a new viewer coming in at the right time. It all worked out perfectly.
Well, it didn't have a drum kit, but that's something.
Anyway,
You can have my flute if you like.
No.
The homosexual question. Have you looked into David and Jonathan's love?
I've heard of the story, but I personally don't view it as such. I've heard the arguments, and might make some points, but I just personally don't buy into the thing. The worst claim I've ever heard is that the whole David and Jonathan story is pretty much similar to a modern day scenario where Saul, Jonathan's dad, is basically trying to prevent David and Jonathan from being together, which I see nowhere within the whole context of the text. And I'm actually currently in that book right now during my Bible reading.
Okay. Have you read, because I still haven't made a decision on this yet, but so that, I'm just adding this maybe to your own devotion. 2 Samuel 1 verse 26 says, I am distressed for you. I am in distress for you, my brother Jonathan. You have been most kind to me. Your love for me was extraordinary, beyond love from women.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So what type of love is he talking about with respect to women here? This is David talking.
Right. And that's why in this sense, I would say that concerning Jonathan, that I think that your view might be right in this case, because we are talking about an extreme form of devotion of love. I mean, one of the other extremes that we see that's similar is when Jonathan basically removes not just his armor and his weapons, but also practically his clothing, and offers it to David as a gift offering. From what I've researched, that's the very extreme form of a flattery, when you're trying to show someone an appreciation. So, however, there's the same argument can be made that it's also a sign of a very, very, very tight bond of friendship and loyalty as a service type of thing, which could have been a common thing back in those days. And the same could be said for this, though. While the argument of the love aspect could be in that sense, there's also the sense that, we're looking at a society and a culture that's focused on in a war aspect. So the whole, in a sense, I guess, bros before hoes thing was definitely going on in the war with soldiers and fellow comrades. So that could also be another thing that's being pointed out here concerning the relationship between David and Jonathan. I agree, it's a complicated thing. However, at the moment, I am not too convinced about the idea proposed that they could have been a couple, or that they were ever really, into
because I would agree with that as well. It's just one of those. It is Ask Christian Anarchist, and so I'm going to put you on the spot, but I do agree. But it is an interesting, diving into the radical opposite. Like, for example, T. Horner writes Jonathan's love for David, homosexuality in biblical times. Like that's a pretty audacious claim, especially about men in those times. But yeah, I was just wondering if you'd see the love there as even sexual in some sense.
Well, I don't think we've covered too much on the sexual love aspect in that. So, I mean, once again, I would have to spit myself. I would have to look more into it concerning the topic, because I've looked into it before. I used to be convinced that David and Jonathan were lovers in the position, but then slowly I'm starting to look more into the cultural aspect. View kind of changed on that, but possibly, who knows? Maybe if some more evidence is conceived on this issue, I might consider it. So I'll just have to see what I find.
No worries.
No worries. All right, so far we got 4 people watching, 2 likes, not much activity in the live chat again. So let's see here. Charles is only asking if I got a link to the Hangout where Arcane said those things. I'm actually going to see if maybe, let's see here. I know it was on MK's channel where Arcane was accusing me of being the things that he said. So I'm going to see, because I know it started today, and it was in there at some point after, Von Helton was in there for a bit, and then all of a sudden I get the things accused of me. So let's see here. I would suggest going to the 1 hour and 31 minute mark on this video I'm linking in the live chat, Mr. Charles, and I'll even link it to y'all on the side chat. Basically, that's the Hangout where it happened. And, he kind of got aggressive, that's for sure. His phone was cutting out, but you can hear he was kind of just being childish, and muttering under his breath and cussing like a sailor. I mean, this guy, if I'm not a Christian, then he by no means, he's definitely worse than me if this is his attitude, if this is his behavior, if this is his fruits, basically.
Very rude person, it sounds like.
Yes, it is. So there you go. So what we're going to do is, since we still have some time, we're going to try to do the whole order again. Actually, for some of the people who are watching live, I'm going to send the live link again. So, and I've got mods, so people don't try coming in here and troll, and I'm even going to make General Han Solo moderator right now, as well.
Yay.
As well as the Chris, because neutral ground at this point. Or as Greg Bonson would say, there is no such thing as neutral ground. So, let's see. So let's see if there's anyone that is if y'all want to stay in the live chat, feel free to do so. Type in your questions again. If you've already asked me a question, go ahead and ask me it. What was that?
I don't know.
Who just screamed?
The perverted demon.
Demon, I'm going to.
The only person that wasn't me.
Sure it wasn't. All right, so let us continue with our question and answering thing. This especially goes to you, Sister Hipster. If you got a question, go ahead and ask it. So let's start.
What's your favorite film?
What's my favorite film? Oh, that's easy. Wolf Children.
Oh.
Yes, my favorite movie of all time is an anime. What, you want to fight about it?
No, I like anime too, you know this.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Oh, wait,
so,
how old are you?
One question at a time, sonny boy. But if you must know, I'm 22.
Shit. Well, if you come over here, we can totally do stuff. But if I come over there, we totally can't.
The only thing we'll be doing is reading a Bible and making sure you convert to Christianity by sunset.
No.
Yes, I just went there.
Oh.
Yes.
No.
Yes. All right, so going back to the order, let's go to Mr. Let's go to Mr. Floyd. Floyd, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
How you doing? You've been away, Mr. Floyd.
Yeah.
Floyd.
Trying to think of some more questions.
You look like you're well prepared there.
Not really.
Getting ready for a debate or something. Like, let me just get all my notes set up. Let's see. I got G-Man coming up in a week. Got Arcane next year. What's up next?
Actually, I heard G-Man last night talking about the Book of Daniel with, I forget, he's a new guy. I never met him before.
He's part of a movement, because apparently Faithful, brother of mine, had told me about this guy. He's part of something called the Conscience movement. They're different from the G Conscience guy. This is a group of people that believe that that everything kind of got its ideas from Africa, that basically Christianity stole everything from Africa, basically. All the ideas that Christianity proposes came straight out of Africa. So
I'd like to hear the argument for that.
And this guy was, of course, an agnostic scholar on the thing. And, G Conscience and Faithful, they've been aware of this guy. And they've told G-Man, basically, he's an expert on textual criticism. You need to study before you get into this argument or this debate with him. G-Man did not heed the warning and simply said that he's going to smoke him and own him in the debate. He didn't need to do any of that. But what happens is this guy is pretty much showing what is the one thing that's important about a debate. You research what your opponent's arguments are. Otherwise, you are going to be surprised by things you have no idea how to handle, which is what G-Man was left with. And apparently it resulted to tactics that he's done before, which accuses you of things you haven't said or done, and now he's being, now people that have told him that he didn't do too well at the debate, which some of them are Christians, he's telling them that they need to repent, basically. So, repent of what? Just saying that your argumentation needs work on. I mean, I'm sorry, but even if we both may believe that a God may exist, but if an argument for one can be seen as terrible by another Christian, the reason why we're saying that is because we believe there are better reasons and better arguments than the ones you're proposing, basically. So we can disagree with each other on what is a weak argument, what's a strong argument. That's it. But anyways, I'm done with the ranting. You got a question, Mr. Floyd?
No, just a comment on it. I challenged G-Man to not a formal debate, but just a chat on Daniel, because I thought G-Man. I clearly disagree with G-Man's view, and but Daniel's always an interesting book to talk about. I thought the other guy, I forget his nickname, but I thought he was pretty good. I liked him, and I hope he is involved in our community more.
Well, just send him an invitation to the great debate community. Then we'll definitely see that coming. So, I was going to want to talk to General Han Solo about there was an event on with Hugh Ross and that other guy, I forget what his name is, from Reasons to Believe on Steve McRae's channel. And I'm going to have to take a look at that later on, because I've heard so many things about Hugh Ross from General Han Solo that, talks about that he's definitely one person that imitates the life of being like Christ-like in his walk. He's a person you would enjoy to have a conversation with and go out to dinner with.
Yeah, General Han Solo and I have clashed on the Bible a couple times, so I like to continue that with him.
Yeah.
He tried to reconcile the nativity stories between Matthew and Luke, and I've heard of that before. But yeah, he's throwing a lot of arguments that I've encountered before, and I'd like to talk to him about it. I gave him links to my presentations and Hangouts where I address a lot of these things too. I sometimes it gets frustrating to kind of regurgitate the same arguments I made in a full presentation. So sometimes I say, please look at this presentation first, and then after you look at it, then we can talk. But it's I don't think it's ever happened yet where someone said, Floyd, I saw your presentation on this, and I have some comments, or I disagree with you on some points. Let's talk about it. I've yet to have that happen. I want it to happen. I like to talk about it more, but it takes. I guess for some people, it takes too much effort to sit and watch an hour and a half to a 2-hour presentation.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's go over back to Chris. Christopher, how you doing?
How you doing, Anarchist? How you doing, baby?
Please refrain from calling me baby, dear God, sir. I may be many things, but I'm not a baby.
Okay.
What's a baby?
Love you, baby.
I'm a demon. Expect there to be some crosses in your bed tonight. This is how we intimidate each other. So, oh, goodness. All right. So, what's your question, Chris? Try not to laugh right now.
Trying to think here, actually, what would be a good question? I think I have one.
All right.
Okay. How can you reconcile some of the extremes of Calvinism? Like, by what I mean by that is the idea that with this predestination stuff, you kind of make it seem like God is responsible for it, yet is not responsible for it.
Well, concerning the reconciliation of, say, the doctrine of predestination, which again I covered in my expository, I put a whole section on. The whole concept is that God is responsible for, say, the predestination, the salvation upon a certain group of people known as the elect. There's a direct interaction being involved. But concerning the others, the non-Calvinists, I mean not the non-Calvinists, the non-elect, they are simply left alone. And God just does absolutely nothing in regard to them. So to me, the extreme would be to say that God ordains and chooses both those who go to heaven and both those who go to hell. Unfortunately, I'm not a hyper-Calvinist, and I do not operate on that basis. Instead, I believe that God just simply leaves them to be and does not...
Technically, kind of does.
Huh?
Technically, kind of does, because if God has a plan, then you can't exactly stray away from the plan. Technically, there's no free will. If God has a plan, if you have a plan, yeah.
The idea is of how does one conclusion reach to its end? How does that conclusion get reached? And it is the conclusion is, how do these people go to hell? These people have gone, they're in hell. How is that so? And the answer is simply because of their sin, not that God chose them to go to hell, though they may have the sinful nature. The whole thing was on their choice and their behalf to sin and to rebel and go against God. And that's ultimately what sins want.
If God's plan, and if also God made them, then he made them to not do that. So, I mean, if it's God's plan to do one thing and it's also God made them, you can't really stray away from kind of that. It's like a machine that serves hot dogs won't do anything but serve hot dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Because its creator made it to serve hot dogs. So you can't really stray away from that. If you to be like ultra atheist, then you're not going to be not. Because God's all powerful and you can't really stray away from that.
Right. Which is why my conclusion then would be to simply point out to Romans 9 that it even states the concept of God creating some of those for the wickedness.
Exactly,
and it's mainly to point out that his judgment.
It's not their fault.
So what?
Well, if you create them for that purpose, then they can't really, they can't really stray away from that.
Mm.
Oh, nor should they be punished for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, my only simple answer is, hate to say it, I hate to sound like the simpleton, but God said it. And what was that? Is there? Who's whispering?
He's being a spook.
Hello?
There we go. And there's the creeper voice.
Come on, man. It's funny.
I know it's funny. That's why I'm laughing at your creeper voice. Now then.
Sorry, I was thinking out loud.
Before we go to the other questions, we got an interesting question from Sister Hipster again. Honestly, don't know how to reply to this. The question is it a sin to fart while praying? Get me. No. I mean, when you're praying, you're in a sanctuary with you and God, basically. So it might be indecent to do it if you're praying, say, in a public space and you're next to somebody. I mean, kind of
That's
is
just-
going to
that's
make
just
things uncomfortable for them if you do it, if you fart in the public space. They're like, where does that smell? But if you're like in your private home, like say you could go in your closet, you're on your bed, in your room simply, you're eating at the dinner table, no, I don't think God's really going to be angry with you about that. I would like someone to show me where in the Bible it says, thou shalt not farteth when thou prayest. I mean, come on. So don't worry if there's a problem with there's no problem if you fart while praying. So you can rest your worries on that. You're safe. I will say this though, and agree with what Unspeakable is Lolly Lule Low just posted, and that is that only if you deny it afterwards, then you're sitting there, you deny your farting. Because if you're going to, because that's a good example actually. You're in public, and someone says, "Did you fart?" You say, "No." Well, you kind of lied there, so there you go. Well, this was an interesting discussion. We talked about is a sin to fart. That is one of the things I would never imagine myself be talking about on a Christian.
I can see the scenario happening after that. Hey,
you could see it happen?
Wait. Hey, why are you in hell? Oh, I murdered a bunch of children. Why are you in hell? I farted and denied it.
Well, you would know about those people, wouldn't you, demon?
Well, I mean, who do you think keeps me entertained, really?
Who do you think what?
Who do you think keeps me entertained if not the people who fart and go to hell?
Mm-hmm. Just keep your distance from me, you spawn of evil.
No.
Yes.
No. I'm gonna taint you.
I got my guns, and they're all loaded with holy bullets, just like in Helsing. And I ain't
Don't
afraid.
work.
They shall work. You shall see, my friend.
Not how it works. We made that up.
Yeah. So here we go. Logical Christian, how the heck are you?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, just trying to make sure I get as much time for people to ask more questions, because, that's just me. So, do you have a question, by the way? Because I remember you asked for the link, and well, here you are.
Thanks for having me in here.
You're welcome.
So, anyways, I was discussing things with Muslims on a Facebook group, and we were talking about all kinds of things like Muhammad in the Bible, the deity of Christ, and all that kind of stuff. And a Muslim brought a verse to me that is very interesting. It's Matthew 21:11, where a crowd calls Jesus a prophet. And I tried looking at the context, but something doesn't seem right.
Okay, what would that be?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, I don't know what the question is. It says, this is Jesus the prophet of Nazareth of Galilee, so, I mean...
Like, the question is, does this prove that Jesus is a prophet, basically? And
well, he's a prophet. Well, what does the word prophet mean here? I think that's the indication that we're going to have to take a look at. So let's take a look first.
Someone who prophesies things.
Well, sometimes it can also mean just for a person who's like a teacher, which Jesus definitely was. There's no denying that.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I'm a teacher. Am I a prophet now?
Huh?
I mean, is any teacher a prophet then?
The concept is of how does the word prophet get used in this context? So that's the other thing. So, I mean, when we're looking at words, I think what's the key phrase is we're looking at the word prophet here. And even if he was a prophet, what does that even mean then? I mean, what's their point if they're trying to say he was a prophet? So, I mean, we could both agree that he's a prophet, basically. So let's take a look at a lexicon. The word that's being used in the Greek is prophetes, which I assume is where we would probably get the word from.
Probably.
So let's go to, what was it again? Matthew 21.
21:11.
Okay. Now, and I'm looking in the Thayer's Greek lexicon, the definition is used in the context to refer specifically to the Messiah, basically. I mean, the same, and it's showing some examples as well. And it says it's referring to Jesus the Messiah inasmuch as he is about to fulfill the expectation respecting the Messiah. So referring to the prophet as in the prophecy that is to come. This is all the same word is used in the same context in John chapter 6, verse 14, where it says, then those men, this is during the story of the 5,000 who were fed, then those men, when they had seen the miracle that Jesus did, said, this is of a truth that prophet that said should come into the world. So the same word is used here, but in the context is exactly the same for Matthew 21, verse 11. For a basic context that's similar, let's look no further than Acts chapter 3, verse 22. This is not even, Jesus is already done at this point concerning the ministry aspect. It's up to the apostles now. And what does they say? And what did they say? It says, for Moses truly said unto the fathers, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things. Whatsoever he shall say unto you. Verse 23 says, and it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people. So again, there's not really much of a problem with him being a prophet, but the concept is, what kind of prophet is Jesus? It's not just a simple, fallible type, but rather this is also a divine type of prophet. And in the sense, yes, so even if he's a prophet, there's not a problem. I mean, I don't disagree that he's not a prophet. I mean, I believe he's a prophet,
Just in a different context.
Right. So, I mean, for example, he's not a prophet that just goes around making prophecies, because even remember, if he is a prophet, then what part, ask the Muslim if they would agree about this. If he's a prophet, then how come in the gospel it says that Jesus, even Jesus, the Son, he could not see the end,
Yeah.
So if he can't do it, it says only God the Father can. So the Son is limited to a role at this point. This is again showing his human fallibility, and that's what we see there. So Jesus is a prophet, and I will say this: he is definitely a prophet. He's a true prophet, and he's more of a prophet than Muhammad is. Shots fired.
Yeah, and actually there is something interesting about that. That
Mhm.
sounds kind of like it's referring to Deuteronomy 18.
Deuteronomy 18?
Yeah, because it said he who doesn't listen to that prophet shall be destroyed.
Oh my goodness, you're actually onto something here, because actually Deuteronomy 18:15 is also in the same definition thing in the Thayer's Greek lexicon.
Interesting, because contrary to the claims of Muslims, the prophet being
Well, at least that's what it's used in the Septuagint. So if you're reading the Septuagint, that's the same Greek word, and the Hebrew word, I would assume, would also equal the same thing. So the Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thy brethren, like unto me; unto him ye shall hearken.
Yeah, and contrary to the claims of Muslims, the prophet being prophesied here is not Muhammad. It's someone from among their brethren, as James White pointed out. In verse 17:15, it says, you may indeed set a king over you, for whom the Lord your God will choose from among your brothers. You may not put a foreigner over you who is not your brother. And the context makes it clear that's referring to someone from 12 tribes of Israelites. Arabs and Ishmaelites are not included.
Right. So yeah.
That's a great answer, though. Thanks. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, man. I do my best to help out. All right, so we are going to... Huh?
Oh, and I'm not asking a question, though. I want to tell you, though, I'm working on that second piece for the Physical Unperfect series.
Yeah, I forgot. This is also, before we continue, this is a logical Christian who's also a member of the Spiritually Honest Ministries team. He's our Islamic polemics expert. So if you want, you can check out his short article on our website, www.spirituallyhonestministries.weebly.com. If you can't figure that out on a typing thing, we do have the link below, so you can check that out and give it a read. But it's a pretty good, interesting piece of literature. It's called "Is the Quran Perfect?" Part 1 of 5. He's planning on doing a 5-part series of this. So give that a look.
My second part should be done soon, though, because I'm
Right.
wrapping it up. The second part will be addressing errors in the Quran.
Right. Also, we really need to work on your saying of Quran.
I don't know why I say it like that, because I do not respect Muhammad, I do not respect his companions, and I do not respect Allah.
Well, I don't respect them either, but I can still try to at least say the name right.
Some people say it like that. Have you ever heard William Lane Craig say it?
I haven't heard him say it yet, so I'll have to take a look into that. But I do know, like, I mean, there's the other thing. If you're engaging with Muslims, I mean, I don't think we should approach it in some way some people have. For example, I remember there was a debate concerning James White and David Wood, between that one guy who got public in the news for saying that all Christians everywhere should go out and burn every single Quran that they find. And basically it was a debate between Christians on why, and James White and David Wood were in the position that a Christian shouldn't do this, while the other guy, Terry something, said that we should. And, you know, if you're going to display this sort of, like, you know, I am against Islam, but also the other thing that's to be considered here is that as a Christian, as the Christian Anarchist, if I'm going to expose the doctrines of Islam, I'm going to expose them for, you know, simply what they are, in that they contradict themselves and that they have flaws within its own theology. I'm not going to say out of emotional pleas that, you know, oh, Muhammad committed murder, then, you know, this is horrible, blah. If I'm going to focus on the idea of Muhammad's killings, it's to refute the idea that supposedly Muhammad is a good moral character figure,
And good for society.
and that the religion is told to be a religion of peace, when the Quran contradicts that sort of statements. So that's my whole point, is that people, if you're going to address the Quran, I mean, or Islam in general, I mean, sure, you don't have to have respect for it necessarily, but at least have enough respect to at least get the information you're saying.
People get very
accurate.
violent about this, though.
Huh?
Muslims get very violent about this. It's quite scary.
Yeah, I saw a video apparently of it was the Jesus or Muhammad show, and some guy just called the show to say that he's going to hang them like Jesus was hung. And so,
Oh, yeah. It's like, that's exactly what your prophet teaches.
that David Wood and Pastor Joe was shocked, but you see Sam Shimon going, yes, this is the work of Allah right here. So,
And it is.
I mean, in England, certainly around the area that I live, there's a lot of Asians. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say that. A lot of Muslims. Yeah, so it's not exactly the most fun, I won't lie.
yeah, you guys got the worst part of it. You got that,
Yeah.
I forgot what his name is. That
Sharia.
No, not the Sharia guy.
We don't have Sharia, no.
It's a Cheepak or Cheetat or whatever his name is, the guy that's demanding for Sharia.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the guy? I watched a video. The guy kind of sounded like he had a British sort of accent. That he was from the UK.
Yeah, he's a British.
He said that, like, something.
Anjem Chaudhry.
Amjad Chaudhry.
Yeah, let me find that picture, because you might. Have you seen him on, say, like, Hannity or something?
I heard a Muslim preacher say something that wishing death for homosexuals is not a radical Muslim position.
Right, and the guy I'm talking about, he said that a lot of things aren't radical. Like, he thinks, like, ISIS and all them are saying, you know, they're perfectly Christian. I mean, not perfectly Christian, perfectly Muslim. Like, they're the basis of Islam. This is the guy I'm talking about. Anjem Chaudhry, and he is a Muslim activist in England, and he's basically pushing for Sharia law there.
Oh yeah, I saw a video one time where he actually admitted that Islam is not a religion of peace.
Yes, he has admitted that Islam is not a religion of peace, and anyone that says otherwise is lying.
Yeah, he looks familiar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
He's appeared on Hannity several times, so if you just type in Anjem Chaudhry, you'll see him definitely on some of Hannity's deals.
That's a great video. That's a great article idea. See, you just gave me a great idea.
Now there you go.
Writing an article, what is Sharia?
Yeah. Also, welcome, Seaman.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
say, welcome to Ask Christian Anarchist number 8. How you doing, buddy?
Good. I had a question. Where did your name come from?
Before you answer that, I'd just like to say one thing.
Wait, hold on. So, is that all the question was? It sounded like you had more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had more. I have more questions. I just wrote some stuff down.
Oh, okay.
Can I just say one thing?
What is it, demon?
Yes, Steven, what is it?
Anarchist always welcomes all the seamen.
I'm going to get a crucifix, and I'm going to stab you with it. No, I'm not even going to sharpen it. I'm just going to make sure that the holiness of that crucifix just stabs you straight through the heart. Be gone, demon. All right, so serious time. I'm chill. Well, my name comes from a basically, originally I was an actual anarchist, so that's kind of where my name came from. But, you know, the more I looked into it, I kind of disagreed with the anarchy philosophy. But then I thought to myself, I mean, there's another reason why I had this name, in my opinion. And I think it's because that when I go to a room, whether it's a Christian or an atheist hangout, I'm going to tick off somebody in those groups just because I believe what I believe. I tick off Christians for several reasons. Some because I'm a Calvinist. Some because I'm against the King James only cult. Some because I hold to, for example, like recently I'm against this whole deliverance ministry nonsense. And some people think that I'm possessed by the world and all that kind of stuff. And atheists, of course, there's problems with. Oh yeah, the other thing from some Christians, like today, some have accused me of being, wanting to be friends with atheists. Though we'll get to the atheists in a bit. And today, I was recently accused of something I put on my most funniest things to be insulted of. I was accused of being a cross-dresser. Good luck showing the evidence of that.
I'm sorry.
What?
Yes, some other Christian named Arcane Logos accused me of being a cross-dresser. Yes, laugh it up.
Do you have any proof that you're not?
Okay. Oh,
Yes.
God. Oh, no.
So,
Do you have any proof that you're not? Wait a minute. Dress in a dress.
no, I'm not dressing in a dress. I'm trying to answer questions now. Hang on. So here's the thing. So then the atheists. I'm a Calvinist, of course, so there's also going to be some negativity from that. Some people who are anti-theists just don't like the idea that I believe in a God, and I've been called a Poe because of it as well by one of them. So I've been accused had criticisms and backlashes from all kinds of groups. And that's because I think I stand for what I do. And it seems that sometimes when I'm in a hangout, a big argument can happen. And it's just because I'm in there. Sometimes. So that's why I keep the name, and that's what my name sort of stemmed from. You have another question?
Your eschatological position.
I am kind of neutral on that because, as it says, no one will know the time when the Son of Man returns. So
What's eschatology?
Huh?
What's eschatology?
Basically, it's the study of end times. And to me, I don't have the knowledge to know when an end time is or how it's exactly going to happen as well. All I know is that Jesus is going to come back. That's my basic eschatology position. And, of course, I disagree with what you call the that it's already happened. that the rapture's already happened, a pre-trib thing, or not pre-trib. I forget what it's
No, it's
actually.
not pre-trib. I think you're maybe talking about not Pelagianism. No, that was another question, but preterism.
Yeah, preterism. Yeah, that's it. I disagree with preterism.
Me too.
What's
Yeah,
that?
so that's my eschatological view, is that I'm neutral, basically.
Okay.
That's cool.
And you said you had the other question in regards to Pelagianism.
Yes. What would you think of the verses that refute Pelagianism?
What would I say be the verses that refute Pelagianism?
Or
What's that?
Pelagianism is the philosophy that was it was kind of a opposite to Augustinianism in its own right, I believe.
Yeah, this is a question that I've actually addressed in my expository on Calvinism, which, by the way, just to sponsor myself out even more, A Case for Calvinism, an expository by Christian Anarchist. Check out you can find it on the website, spiritualizedministries.weebly.com. It's posted today, and it's a good read and good sections all about on it for information. But to go over one of the informations on it, here are some verses that I think refute Pelagianism, the idea that not only that all men are free, well, they believe all men are free, and they believe that all people have choices. Let me just point this out. Lamentations 3:37 through 38, Isaiah 46 through 10, 1 Chronicles 29:12, 2 Chronicles 26, Proverbs 16:9, Proverbs 16:33, Proverbs 20:24, Proverbs 21:1, Psalms 33 verses 13 through 17, Exodus 4:11, Genesis 50:20, Ephesians 1:11, Acts 4:27. That's referring to the free will aspect, that God's in complete sovereign control. So the idea of a free will, especially towards the idea of the supposed synergy thing, is refuted at this point, in my opinion. As for the idea of we are born pure and clean, as Pelagius states, unaffected by original sin, I would refer him to Jeremiah 17:9, Psalms 51:5, Romans 3:10 through 12, Romans 3:19, Romans 3:23, Romans 6 verse 20, Romans 6:23, Psalms 58:3, Isaiah 64:6, Jeremiah 13:23, Ephesians 2:1 through 3, and 1 John 1:8. So those would be my verses. Should I go on?
Actually, that's kind of interesting. Like, are you referring to libertarian free will, like the idea that man is free of any influence?
Well, I'm specifically referring to the Pelagian view, which is that specifically that concerning salvation, that they believe that, and I covered this in the essay, that they believe that not only are we free from the stain of original sin, but that we ourselves can make that starting point to reach to God. That basically we can reach to God. There's no God has to come to us first. Yeah, basically it's our deed, and this was condemned, of course, at the Council of Carthage in 418 A.D. So
Arminianism?
it's somewhat of it's not exactly Arminianism.
No.
Pelagianism and Arminianism are totally different
belief systems. Yeah.
Okay, what's the difference?
The difference is that with Arminianism, here's the difference that I laid out in the article, and it is simply this: that while people hold to the idea that there's some kind of let me just go to it real quick so that way I don't have to just randomly say things. So concerning Pelagianism, basically was made by a British monk during the late 4th century named Pelagius. And the heresy basically taught that humans were good people by nature and by birth, and that they were not affected by the sin, and also did emphasize the libertarian free will aspect to the point that it taught men were able to make the first decision to come to God because they were righteous and they were not corrupt in human nature. In other words, they had what some would call the godly and divine aspect already within them to be sanctified. Now, the Arminian difference is this: This is from the Dutch theologian Jacob Arminius. And his thing was a response to Calvinism, basically. So this view differs in two senses, in some different senses, saying that it affirms original sin, that there is a human nature that's corrupted, that corrupts us, but it's more of an inherent thing, and it's not just a simple born sinner aspect thing, and that the first step of grace depends on God to make. So they agree that it's God who makes the first step of wishing upon grace. So that's the main difference between the two.
Yeah, like, I'm not a Calvinist, I'm a 4-point Arminianist. The only thing I don't find in Arminianism biblical is conditional salvation. Because that I think is inconsistent with Scripture and makes the idea of eternal life seem meaningless. But other than
I'm gonna be right back for a second, so I literally will probably be about a minute or less. So just converse with yourselves a bit.
All right, cool. So you are C-Man, right? C-Man?
Yeah. Logical Christian?
Yeah, but you can call me LC for short.
LC, okay.
How you doing?
Okay. Yeah, I would... yeah.
Sorry about the voice. I like to use my voice simulator.
Yeah, I can understand.
Yeah, I'm an anonymous YouTuber. I don't tell people my identity.
Yeah, I'm trying to not tell anybody my identity either, so...
That's understandable, because sometimes not being anonymous helps more, because like for instance, if you screw up really bad on something, nobody will know it's you, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really cool. And like CA said earlier, I'm now part of the Spiritually Honest Ministries team. I am the Islamic polemics expert. I have been critiquing Islam for a few weeks now. I'm sorry, not for a few weeks. I've been critiquing Islam for about a year now.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So, and I've been studying Islam, I've been studying the Quran, and I've been studying the Hadith. And from what I've seen, I don't know how it can be more blatantly obvious that it's false.
Yeah. The verses were in the Hadiths, I think in the Quran, where Muhammad said that he was demon-possessed at one time.
Yeah. It's like, okay, why would he deliver these verses anyway if he was convinced that he was possessed by a demon? This doesn't make any sense. It's called the Satanic Verses. Ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still studying the Satanic Verses, and once I have more knowledge about it, I might write an article about the Satanic Verses. But right now, I'm working on a 5-part series, as CA's pointed out. The first article is already on Spiritually Honest Ministries. It's talking about contradictions in the Quran. My second article will be exposing errors in the Quran. My third one will be exposing how it gets the Christian doctrines incorrect. What was I going to say next? Dang it, I lost my train of thought.
We're going to talk about turtles.
Turtles?
Yes, why not?
Hey, wait. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, Seaman, do you got any more questions, mate?
Well, yes, mate. I got a question of speaking in tongues and how your position.
You sound like that one guy from that Helsing Ultimate Abridged.
What?
The Frenchman. What?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was just.
Oh, mon cher.
I'd have to watch it. I've never really seen Helsing. Oh, okay.
Helsing's it's quite interesting. You watch anime, I assume?
A little bit of it, yeah. I've watched mainly only Full Metal Alchemist and One Piece.
I have a feeling you're probably going to get along with Sister Hipster in the live chat then. But
I like One Piece.
I know you do.
I love One Piece as well. It is awesome, especially currently.
So
Kaido arcs.
What was I trying to say? Now I'm losing my train of thought. Yeah, so Helsing is one of those animes that you just it's not exactly for the faint of heart, but of course,
Very violent.
It's very violent. I mean, there's a part, he's basically a vampire who is going around and he kills other vampires, and the way he does it is very brutal. He pretty much has these powers where he's like, he uses these guns, he can bite into people, rip them to shreds, punch through them, control them.
That's on his like base form as well. That's not even like his ultimate form.
Yeah, he also has an ultimate form, and apparently at some point in the 40s, he was a woman. Or a little girl, actually.
He was a
I'll
woman.
be right back.
He basically turns the streets of London into a river of blood. It's amazing.
And that's from the demon.
Literally, there are Nazis, rivers of blood, fucking Zeppelins.
I think we're giving away too much. I think we'll just let him decide upon that.
Yeah.
I would recommend, of course, Hellsing Ultimate. I didn't feel too much for the regular show, but that Hellsing Ultimate was, to me, not only just better, that Hellsing Ultimate was also more in line with the manga as well.
Yeah,
So you're getting more of the original when you're watching that.
Yeah,
Just like,
I like the manga.
By the way, what is up, Veckel? You crazy boy?
Whoa.
What?
Hey, I'm at work, so I can talk sporadically.
Talk sporadically. That's fine. I must ask this, though. Have you looked into the Louisiana May festival that's going on for in March? You think you might be able to make that?
I think I should be able to make it, but I still haven't looked into it yet, though.
Well,
As far
based
as
on
the
what
schedule.
I've looked at, I would try to recommend, like, at least asking, if you could possibly have a day off. Apparently, someone's already got some stuff done for apparently. So the art alley has sold out. So definitely got some venue people there.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna just have to sit down and look at it. I should be able to do it. It shouldn't be a problem. It's just that I just haven't, really dug into looking at, because I got some other things coming up soon too. So
Right.
just trying to make sure I can afford that as well. So.
Right. And let me see actually if the tickets are still the way they were. Because when I got them, they were, what were they? They're $35. So
Now that's for the entire weekend?
that's for the entire weekend. But they said they were only going to be doing that for a limited times.
Right.
That's why I'm hoping that maybe the thing is still going on. So let me take a look real quick. Okay, they still have the thing up in the announcement. Let me click on the register now thing to see if that's still the case. Yes, it's still there. So you have the pre-registration Louisiana Baton Rouge thing where it's a discounted 3-day pass, which is $5 plus the fee of $292.
Wait, so how long is that going to stay?
The sale ends November the 1st.
So after the 1st, then the prices are going to increase.
Yes, that's just normally what they try to do. So and that gets you that's just for 3 days there. But if you want to take it to an extreme, you can get the pre-registration premium pass for $70, which gets you the weekend, a t-shirt, early access into dealer room, first chance seeing for May and events, and collectible items. But I'm pretty sure we can just take a look at what's going on at the art alley if you don't want to spend too much of the money.
Yeah, it's up, Beckle.
Just to be clear, the prizes are not children's card games, are they?
No, they're not children's card games, Bakara. You really need to stop doing this.
Card games on motorcycles.
For what you've done to Yugi, I shall show you no mercy.
No, I don't even know who you are, Jack. We're not doing that. We're not going to be playing card games on motorcycles.
What?
Card games on motorcycles.
That's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged reference.
Okay.
I actually, a friend of mine got to meet a little Karibo one time. Who just did that?
Who do you think did it?
What the? Okay, I don't know who this is, but apparently Target just said that Veckel is going to Mardi Gras.
Wow.
What?
Okay.
What?
I don't.
I kid you not.
Well, at first, I have to admit, I was curious at first.
Cassandra.
But then I thought about what kind of stuff goes on down there. I was like, you know what? Probably be a better idea if I
I
did.
mean, I've been to New Orleans, and it's the food is great. Some of the scenes are nice, but not exactly the best place I would want to be at, in my opinion, because they have people that follow you and stalk you, and sometimes you go to a bar. The first thing you see is a woman passed out on the table thing, and apparently she's not wearing panties. So,
Oh my gosh.
big sight for you right there.
Free hole.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I go there with my wife. So
Hide
that
the
way
children.
Yeah. Had your children, that's for sure, when it's night time.
Hide the children.
But it's interesting. You go. Here's the best thing: if you do go to New Orleans and it's breakfast, go to this. I forget what the place is called, but it's just a place that makes the best beignets you'll have. And
What is
there's
it
a
called?
guy.
Beignet?
A beignet, yes.
That was my question.
What is that, like a dish?
Yeah, it's I don't know exactly how to describe it. It's basically like a powdered. It's a fried donut of some sort, but it's like powdered a bit. So
What's it called?
Oh, okay.
beignet. It's a French dish. It's basically a pastry type of dish, and they put like
Oh, okay.
some powdered sugar on it, or you can put your own powdered sugar.
Oh, yeah, I understand what it is.
So
Sounds like fried dough or something.
that's
Yeah,
pretty much what it is. It looked like
Like
it's
funnel cake or something.
yeah. That's what I would compare it to. It's kind of fattening, but it's pretty good, in my opinion. So the other thing I would
all the bad stuff is so tasty.
But if that guy is still there, though, there's a guy that I remember we went there at the first morning. There's this guy who hands out this gospel CD of his, and he's an old guy that played the trumpet, and he basically is like it was down by the riverside. He goes bam, 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 down by the riverside, and just tries to, and hold on. And the thing is, if you tip him, by the time he's done, then he'll say, "And look, right here, we got us another satisfied paying customer."
Okay.
Like he puts a lot of emphasis on paying, so we could tell he was trying to. He'll shower you a bit if you tip his hat with some money. But
Seems like an interesting character.
yeah, and I think because I tried talking to him, and he's like that. Some TV station wanted. He said that he sounds so good that some TV station came to him saying that they want him to do the music for this entire drama show coming on A&E, but when they didn't agree to his price, they turned him down. He said they just can't handle true talent or something like that. So he was a bit crazy. He's a bit funny. So
Yeah, he sounds like not a douchebag.
so there you go. But yes, but there's the one thing we're hopefully if Veckel can finally make sure that this is confirmed, that way we can get down here. Then me and Veckel are going to be going to the Louisiana Festival in Baton Rouge. So there's your chance to see me and Veckel, and we'll be chilling, looking at these sites, and we'll even be preaching the gospel a bit. Logical, we are hearing some stuff on your end.
Yeah, you're looking at Hangout or something like that, and you don't have any headphones on. Dick.
I was playing this on my laptop and putting it up to my microphone. I was just
So, anyways,
I got
yeah.
it.
So you'll be able to see me and Beckel if y'all decide to attend there, and so yeah, make sure to come meet us there. And he vanishes, of course. So don't worry, he's just getting things ready because we're of course getting the signs made that says God hates you. No, in all seriousness though, we're gonna do it a lot more differently.
You're not fast.
What
What the fuck?
What?
Who's playing Sonic? That sounds like Sonic.
I'm not even gonna question what just happened there.
What kind of Sonic crap are you listening to?
All right, so
you're not fast.
I'm just hoping that that we're not going to get copywritten for that one.
Of
So,
course not.
So Chris, Enlightened?
Yes, I do.
All righty, and there's 2 of them.
I think it's because he's like the ghost thing. But just to check. No, it's cool. Hey, Enlightened, how you doing, buddy?
My mic is broken. This is the only way I can communicate. I'm doing great.
Oh.
I hope you don't mind if your voice is like that from me, Enlightened. If you want me to change your voice, please feel free to make any requests. Okay.
No, he speaks real fast. Kind of real fast, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So it would sound something like this?
Maybe, kind of.
Maybe, kind of?
He has a clear voice and he's talks somewhat fast.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't match that then. So, anyways. The topic today is Ask Christian Anarchist. And so we're going to try to close things up here, I guess. If you want, you can be the last questionnaire unless somebody in the live chat or unless Seaman has any other questions. So do you have a question for us, Mr. Enlightened? In fact, enlighten me, since your name implies it. Yes. If I had a mustache, I'd be petting it by now. What would you like to know about? No, I mean, just like, I'm just saying that as a general thing. I mean, do you have a question for the Christian Anarchist? Unless that is your question. What is my stance on the abortion debate? I am basically pro-life, so that's my stance there. But at the same time, because the issue is so complicated, I'm also pro-choice politically. But pro-life is my moral obligation, and it's pretty much the same kind of stance as Christopher Hitchens took on the issue. Because I mean, we can't deny the scientists that state that that fetus is still what is known as what some people call an unborn human. That phrase is still holds its weight based upon what we understand of science, basically. So, I mean, I'm pro-choice politically, but pro-life morally. My main argument even is in a philosophical matter as well, because there's a philosopher, I think, in Kansas by the name of Don Marquise, and he's a philosophy professor there at the university. And he proposed a very interesting idea of why abortion would be wrong morally. And he states it like this, that premise 1, killing is wrong because it robs the opportunity of one to have a future or to fulfill that future. So that's his first premise. Second premise is that a human fetus, whether you accept that it's a human or not, has the potential to have the potential to have a future like us. And the conclusion is that because the fetus, whether it's human or not, can have a future potential, it is therefore concluded that it is morally wrong to rob that fetus of having a chance to, fulfill its future, because if it's wrong to kill because we're robbing a chance of a person fulfilling a future, then the same thing could be said for a fetus that some would consider not human, and we're just not even going to let it live up to its full potential in its own life in the future. So it doesn't even have to matter whether or not it's a human or whether or not it's murder, but rather that it's the prevention of filling out one's future obligation to live or one's ability to live. That's basically all that the argument is, and I kind of stand upon that basis. Now, the question, though, that some will probably ask is, what if it has a disease or something that, it's probably not going to live in the future? I think in certain circumstances, maybe that's a fine possibility. I think it's the parents' decision ultimately. I mean, that's the whole thing. So but there are some people that have been told they need to get an abortion, but the person that comes out, not exactly normal, maybe you got some Down syndrome, maybe you got someone with physical disabilities, they end up doing something a whole lot with their lives. And, they may have this one problem in their life that's different and difficult, but some people are going to be able to amount to being, say, great motivational speakers or maybe great members to society in some way. So ultimately, we can't know that. That's the one thing. But we won't know until we try. So, and to address the question you're proposing right now isn't forcing someone to live just as immoral? I wouldn't say it's forcing someone to live, but rather, just letting them be born. What happens later is their choice and their decision later on. They kill themselves or something happens later on, and that's on the hand in general. So abortion is just dealing with the birth aspect. And I think that if one is going to, come about in this world, that's what it should be. One should first be born into this world and, have their experiences. And if some people don't like it, then, there's some people will consider suicide and whatnot. So that's all I'll say on that particular aspect. And like, I think the question was addressed to. So we go. What was your question, Mr. C. Man?
Your position.
I'm going to slap you, perverted.
Your position on tongues and your reasoning why.
My position on tongues is that I'm a cessationist. In other words, I hold that the gift of speaking in tongues has ceased, at least partially, in my opinion. I think that the tongues gift could still be around, but it's not in the sense of the Pentecostal version. In other words, I don't think that people just randomly get this gift of speaking in tongues randomly, and that automatically it's the gift of heavenly language. Sometimes what you're dealing with are people that do it for attention, or people that focus too much on personal feelings and experiences rather than scripture. Now, I think there are some times when people do speak in tongues where it's legit. But the main times when that happens is when you have someone that's an interpreter, or if the person is able to remember what they said and that they're able to try to figure out what it means. So they go around and they try to find, what does this mean? Can you interpret this phrase for me? Get that kind of thing. And, it's that kind of thing to ponder upon. But as far as tongues in general, I'm a Baptist, especially in the cessationist reformed position, and I don't hold to the idea that Pentecostals would concerning the tongues.
Okay.
So, and to answer a question from the live chat from the fake Greg Bonson, why is your ethical views separate from your political views? Because Actually, hold on a second. I need to blow my nose.
Blow you.
Hey, I'm sorry, but I mentioned earlier before that I'm trying to deal with my allergies here, and I'm sounding like a stuffed up, nasally congested freak right about now.
Yeah, I know that pain fucking sucks. Taking some friggin' Claritin and...
All right, so... Okay, where's the thing? Okay. Also, logical, Greg Bonson has pointed out you look like a Star Wars reject.
How do I look?
Yeah. We'll see what he says on that later. I think Bonson's a fan of Star Wars, so...
Can I make a comment on one thing after you answer this next question?
So here we go. My ethical views are separate from my political views because concerning... Well, not entirely actually separate, because what my political view somewhat still stems with my abortion aspect. I personally think that concerning it, I would like to see for it to, not exactly be as much as available as an option. But at the same time, it's a very complicated issue where there are certain circumstances where, say, like one thing that I've discovered about it, apparently there's a chance where someone can die giving birth to somebody, and that's another thing. So then you have the dilemma there. I think it should ultimately then be the decision, because in this kind of instance, you also see a brave sacrifice as well, because some parents I would see would agree to, sacrifice themselves to give birth to someone they could, keep on the future generation of the family, and, also let that person have a life. So it depends on the person. But concerning my ethical views elsewhere, I mean, I don't view politics as where I would get my moral views from, but rather that it be, from God that I would get my moral views from. I think that's the one important aspect, is because the Bible says that God writes the law in our hearts. So concerning the morality aspect, that's how I view it. And I don't want people to have an abortion. Well, that's the case. And I don't want people to, go out and do all these other sins as well, or to do other immoral things. But unfortunately, we do live in a world where separate governments exist, where separate ideologies and philosophies exist. It's going to happen. The only thing that I can do to help influence a change in the world is to preach the gospel, to hopefully that if someone hears it, the message changes and affects them in their life. So that's the one important thing that I do. And I try to interact and show the fruits of the Spirit as well, to show also that, Christians aren't as some people try to make us out to be. There's rationality among us. There's peace and joy in us. Though at the same time, we are preaching something that's probably not going to be agreed upon as much by certain people. So that is the one thing I would point out. So I am a person who follows God in this religious aspect, but I'm also going to, if I'm in a government aspect, say I'm in America, I submit myself to the governing authorities as what Titus 3 says, what Timothy says, and what Romans 13 says. So concerning that, I will take my view on that stance. I'm not for a theonomy or a theocracy by any means, because I think if you're trying to implement some kind of, to me it's almost an equivalent of a Christian version of a Sharia law, in my opinion. And that's just me. So that's why I don't hold to it, and it's why I think that, I can be just like what the apostles did and live in a unchristianized society and preach the gospel. And if someone says that, you can't preach this, or you can't talk about this, or you can't believe this and whatnot, or else, death penalty, or that I'm accused of being a bigot or teaching immoral things, well, so be it. So be it. Let them come to me. You know, I ain't afraid to say what I want to say. And so my political views, my ethical views, are separate because a political view, in my opinion, is strictly secular. That is ultimately what it is. And an ethical view, in my opinion, for me as a Christian, is a religious view. Because to me, ethics come from God. Our morality comes from God. So that is why my views are separate. Ultimately, that's the answer. That's why my ethical views are separate from my political views, because I cannot mix in I cannot say that a political secular view necessarily corresponds to an ethical religious view. That is ultimately my point. And so as a conservative Republican, I have to recognize that that is a secular view, and that I am not going to appeal to it as a means of justifying my ethical views. It's my religion will come before whether I'm a Democrat, a Republican, or anything else. So, and that's my rant.
Two things. One, I mean, I don't even really think that like a fetus is alive until it's birthed. Two, for the like first year, it's basically a sponge. It's not even really a person.
Right, and this is why I was referring to the argument earlier when I said the whole philosophical argument against, and it's a secular argument too.
Yeah.
Don Marquise is an atheist, and he's not religious. He's an atheist proposing the philosophical argument of why abortion would be morally wrong, and it's not because of whether or not the thing is alive or not.
Yeah, don't worry, I know.
Yeah, so.
Can I make a comment on that?
Well, we're going to need to wrap things up here because it's starting to get late and we're not really getting much watchers right now, so meaning not much more questions. So,
I have a question.
All right, one more and that's it.
All right. So, do you know how in the Bible, kind of God likens anger to murder, or Jesus? I can't specifically remember who does it. And
basically, FP.
Yeah.
To
well, if that's true, and if that's true, then Jesus wasn't sinless because Jesus got angry once. It's not really a question or a statement, but you get what I'm getting at.
So
he did get angry.
So what was the verse that says that Jesus can't get angry?
Yes,
so
but if he did get angry, that's a sin.
All right, so I'm asking the passage. Where does it say that Jesus is saying that anger is equivalent to murder?
I don't know. I can't remember. Just shush.
Well, I can't. Well, what do you mean, just shush? You're gonna say something. I need to look into it. I got my Bible in front of me.
We'll look into this.
Huh?
I'm too busy. I've got better things to do, like burn people.
Well, don't worry. We'll be burning you in the lake of fire soon enough.
I live there. That's where I'm from, man.
Don't worry.
We'll put you in deeper.
So let's see here.
That's how it works. It doesn't get deeper. It's fire. It's not water.
All right, so let's see here. Hate is murder Bible verse. Let's see. Matthew 5:21, verse 22. So let's take a look at that. All right. So 5:21 to 2. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, Thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say unto you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, Thou fool, thou shalt be in danger of hellfire. So I think that's the thing there. When does it say Jesus is angry?
Well, I mean, you know when he flips the table?
Yes.
That's technically anger. I mean, he's doing that. Like, he's just got randomly flipping tables.
Yeah.
But he has a cause for it, though.
Yes, he does, doesn't he?
No,
And
he does.
In verse 22, it says that if you are angry at your brother without a cause,
Then it's a sin.
and especially in the sense it's saying brother, meaning a follower in Christ. In other words, you know, that's why we refer to ourselves as brothers, like Logical Christian, Seaman, and
Stop calling him that.
I'm going to hurt you, and Vincent the fake Greg Bonson. Why
Stop.
they're my
Just
brothers
call
because
them
they are basically they are all my brothers in Christ. We both worship the same God, and we
Exactly.
fellowship in that case, and that's what we are by brothers. And you have neighbors, which is a different concept. So we have that to also keep in mind here. But when Jesus is doing this thing at the flipping the table in anger, it's not he's not doing it without a cause. I mean,
Watch that.
why did he flip the tables? It should state it right in the beginning part of it.
It does actually. It's like because they're charging tax in the church or something like that, I think.
Yeah, and he then later states, you shall not use my father's house as a den for merchants, basically, and that's what they were doing. So he had a cause to be angry
So what you're
with.
saying is they should demolish it and make it into a shop.
No, I'm saying that's the opposite of what we should be doing. After all, why do you think we're angry with Joel Osteen?
Joel Osteen is a joke.
No, I forget.
So I can assume that you also
going to the Antonio Fletcher term.
Yeah.
Joke Osteen.
Joke Osteen.
Yes, it's catchy.
Yeah, so I assume that you're also
Joke Osteen.
against mega churches, right?
Oh, not exactly mega churches, because it depends on it. Like, one of the best preachers that I could point out to people for classic literature is Charles Spurgeon, who had a mega church. So, but he didn't focus on things like, how, because he was an English pastor in the day, and he was a mega church preacher, but he didn't focus on donations from people and relied heavily upon them for expensive stuff, even though, sometimes he was known as the preacher who smoked cigars. But with him, he was pretty much just a very raw, think of like your regular Southern Baptist service for your sermon. He was pretty much raw with how he was preaching in the pulpit. But so he was not afraid to offend people, and like some people who don't want to offend people, otherwise they'd lose that money. So that's kind of the issue right there. So there are mega church pastors that I would like, but if they're only doing this for the money, and by the means of doing so, meaning they soften the theology of the Bible, and that they, water things down just so they can get likes on Facebook and donations in the mail, that's the problem, because you're only saying the things you want because your motive is money, and that's the only thing you care about. God is not on the priority. Saving people or preaching the gospel is not your priority as a pastor. That's your job to do. So that's what would separate a mega church pastor that's honest and a mega church pastor that's dishonest, in my opinion. That's my take on it. So,
Yeah. I honestly think that a lot of them are.
But yes, now we're done with all that. That was a lot of questions today, and that was actually some interesting fun.
Yeah,
So I would like to give a thanks to everybody that made it here.
Wow.
Floyd,
No thank you.
Demon. That's all you're going to get a mention out of me for the rest of the night. Logical, Chris, C, Sister Hipster, Vincent the fake Greg Bonson. I gotta give it all to Jesus, of course. But yes, thank you all for coming and watching. This has been the Christian Anarchist. Shalom
It's
Aleichem.
no problem, baby. I never mind coming for you.
I am going to pour holy water on your face. As I was saying, Shalom Aleichem, peace be upon you, because I wish that upon you. Have a good day.